And at the end of the day, we want to come to a conclusion so that we can tell our public what transpired out there to the best of our knowledge. And if we did something wrong, I'll tell you we did something wrong. If we didn't, I'll tell you we didn't. Have any questions?
So, is there something that leads you to believe something was deleted purposefully from one of those phones, and if so, by who? I mean, because you are asking the FBI to look into that.
When I was briefed that we had seized 2 cell phones, and there is a female caller, it says, I have it on video. While she's talking on her phone, she says she has it on video. And when we looked at that phone, I believe that's the phone that probably there is no video. Now, whether she didn't take a copy or didn't take a video and just was saying that, or whether something was removed, I really think we have to find out.
Sheriff, I just talked to the people with the phones, and they told me they saw video on both the phones.
Well, my staff has not seen the video on both the phones. I can tell you that because I asked that question. Did anybody see a second video on the phone? The answer is no. The first phone that we have video on was being, the person did not know how to send us the video while we were standing there. He proceeded to take the phone apart to try and videotape it. We then called a deputy district attorney in the Kern County District Attorney's office and said, here's what we got, and our instructions and our advice was take that phone. Don't fool with it. You have to have what the information's on that phone. And as you well know, in courts, it's the best evidence rule, and always the best evidence is the original. And so in this particular case, the phones were seized, and on one phone, there is no video.
I understand the best evidence practice, but in a couple press releases that I sent out today by BPD, it said you guys can make identical copies. So why can't you make identical copies and at least give that to the people that are the owners of those phones?
What we're learning through this process is that in a civil case, that may not be the case. But at the end of the day, the best evidence is the original, no matter even if you make a copy on any case, and we know that. But that's not the issue in this case. The issue is, was there a video on that second phone, or was there not? And I hope to God that the FBI can give me that answer.
So
If somebody did erase video?
Carol?
I'm confused because your officers were there in that family's home, they say from early in the morning till we saw them
Correct.
about noon.
Correct.
Did any officers see the video on both phones during that time that they were standing there over the family with their phone?
I've been told no.
If somebody erased video from that phone, is that a crime?
If someone erased the video from the phone, depends on who erased it. If you're talking about a police officer, absolutely. If you're talking about the person that owns the phone, no, they can erase anything they want on their phone. It's your phone.
That wouldn't be considered destroying evidence.
If until we've seized it, we don't know what's on there and what's not on there.
How long might the investigation, the parallel investigation, take? Do you guys have any sort of a timeline?
In talking to to my staff, it takes 90 to 120 days to get a toxicology back on any case, and we're working on that. What we don't know is what that tox is going to say. What we don't know is what we do know is that baton compliance strikes were used. That's clear. We don't know how many of those baton strikes were used. We don't know where those baton strikes were on the body, whether they were in approved areas of the body, and we don't know what the cause of death is yet. Those are all the things that answers and the reports that I have to look at, and with interviews with the public, with the officers, that I have to find out what was in their mind, what was occurring at the time. So this is going to be a lengthy investigation. If it were all done today, it would take me a long time to go through everything. But my promise to you is, at the end of the day, I will stand in front of you and give you the best answer that I possibly can.
What is a parallel investigation, and why don't you just completely hand it over to somebody else for something that's controversial?
Because the FBI conducts criminal investigation in the federal arena. We have nothing to substantiate that a federal crime has occurred until an investigation is done. And when the FBI does their investigation, if they believe that the federal civil rights violation has occurred, that's their job. And so that's why the parallel investigation.
So it sounds like the FBI is going to do two things: their investigation of the incident and an analysis of the cell phones.
That is correct. The cell phones were flown today with our aircraft to Sacramento and handed off by the detectives to an FBI agent who will go to work this afternoon on those phones. I don't know how long it's going to take or what we're going to find out. I wish I was better well versed in the technology, and I might be able to tell you what they may or may not be able to do, but I'm not.
Have you seen the cell phone video?
I've seen the video this about 15 minutes before I came over here. I looked at the video, yes.
The cell phone video?
I did.
And based on what you saw, did your officers act appropriately?
I can't speculate just by looking at a video whether they acted appropriately or not. If it were that easy, we wouldn't even be here. It's a lot more difficult than just looking at the video. As I said, baton strikes were used. But what I don't know is how many and where they were on the body, and if they caused significant injury that caused death. So I will have that information whenever the toxicology comes back and the pathologist issues his ruling.
Is the head an appropriate place for a baton strike? An approved place, excuse me?
In normal circumstances, it is not.
When would it be?
Sometimes in the heat of battle, the baton doesn't go where you want it to go, when that occurs, sometimes if someone has 20 baton strikes to the head, okay, that's easy for us. It's when there's a fight or a scuffle and a baton strikes an area that should not strike, but there's other areas. Then you have to evaluate what happened during that. That's why I have to read reports. That's why they have to be interviewed. This is not as simple as it might sound.
So you've looked at one video and your officers have. Can you release that to the public now?
We're waiting. We've given it to the FBI. This is I'm not touching this. I want this as transparent as we possibly can get. We have other areas that we're looking in the county where we believe there's video of this incident that we're trying to retrieve. So I'm asking the public to be patient. This is troubling. It's not just troubling for the public. It's not just troubling for the news media. It's troubling for me.
BPD has copies of it according to their press release. Will you allow them to release that to us?
The BPD, no, it's gone to the FBI.
And they said that, again, their press release said that they made some copies of it.
Okay, I'm telling you, I've turned the videos over to the FBI.
Okay.
I'm not going to interfere with the FBI's portion of this investigation by starting to hand out things and talk about things that may or may not be on there.
Do you know, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, what kind of wood is a baton made out of?
Somebody in the room might know. I don't know. I have no idea.
So Sheriff, there may be video in other locations that you're still trying to locate?
Yes.
Can you tell us anything more about
There
that?
there are some legalities on certain areas that we're having a conflict with, and we're working on resolving those issues so that we can get those videos and see what's on there.
What would you say, because a lot of people, are calling up and writing in, and different newspapers and other media are carrying this and saying that this is police brutality, this is a cover-up.
They're writing to me too, just so you know.
Okay. But
They're not leaving me out of the loop.
But what would you say to that? I mean, if they did something wrong, I mean, you're going to go where...
There's a certain faction of people out there that, with information that you put out, will make the automatic assumption the cops are brutal and the cops did this. There are other people out there that are led by what they see from the media that lead them to truly believe that something's occurring. And then there are people out there that say, let's wait and see until this investigation is done, then I'll make my determination. There's all kinds of people in this world, and none of them are right, wrong, or indifferent, and we just have to deal with all of them. But I'm not being left out. Believe me, I'm getting the emails, and we're in the process of placing each of these deputy sheriffs on administrative leave. We've received information that concern us about their safety through the emails that we've talked about. I have an obligation to make sure that they and their families are safe. So this is a huge deal for all of us, not just the media and the public, but for the Kern County Sheriff's Office, every member that works here.
So that's new information. These officers are now on paid administrative leave.
We're in the process of doing that.
When would that be?
Whenever I get done. For example, my address where I live was made public. That doesn't concern me a lot, but if I had young kids, and they might concern me an awful lot. So we really are. We're going to provide security for them. This is going to be expensive. We're going to make sure that they and their families are protected, and that's about as far as I want to go with that.
And just to clarify, it's paid leave, correct?
I have no choice but to put people on paid leave in any case whenever an investigation starts.
And a lot
This
of
is no
people-
different than any case. They're paid leave.
And a lot of people were asking, why have they not been placed on paid leave up until now? Can you
Well,
explain that to the public?
yeah, I can. I don't know if they'll understand, but when you use a firearm or a gun, it's deadly force. There's not any question in anybody's mind here, that's deadly force. The use of a baton is not deadly force. And for me to make the assumption that it was is a huge leap. The use of a taser and a baton are pretty equal in the escalation of force, you know, and the baton is not considered deadly force. It's less lethal force. That's not to say it can't cause significant injury or death, but it's less lethal force. A gun, there's no question that the officer made a determination to use deadly force.
And a lot of people have asked that question too. Why not use pepper spray? Why not use a taser? Why go with the baton?
It's, you know, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you why the officers chose to do what they did at this point. But I can tell you that the taser is equal to the baton in a controlled weapon to help the officer contain someone, to control someone. And I can tell you we've been sued for using the taser, not using the baton. So we totally get that we're in the damned if we do and damned if we don't position. We totally understand it and we accept that. It doesn't make this case any easier or any simpler.
To your knowledge, does the law support the detention of witnesses for up to 8 hours to obtain?
It is not uncommon in cases throughout history of law enforcement where you contain a scene inside someone's home and you go get a search warrant. That is not uncommon. That's a common method of getting a search warrant in some cases. What makes this case different, in a sense, is that these people were not suspected of a crime. They just had evidence. So, in answer to your question, I think that the courts ultimately will make that decision whether we did something right, wrong, or different from a legal standpoint.
And just to clarify what you said earlier, someone has made physical threats against these deputies.
I'm not going to go into specifics. I'm going to tell you that I've received information, enough information that concerns me a great deal about the safety of those deputies and their families.
Have these people who, has a suspect been identified in relation to that, and have any arrests been made?
There's been more than one email alluding to the fact of that bad things could happen.
Have those people been identified? Has anyone been arrested?
That's as far as I'm going to go with that.
Is there any conclusion we can draw from the fact that this has gone to the level of the FBI? Is this an indication that something was done incorrectly?
I think you can draw a conclusion that I want to, as the sheriff, be as transparent as I possibly can be with the public. Yesterday afternoon, I got to a point where I realized that the public we serve are going to question us over this case over and over and over again. And I can only stand up here and promise to tell the truth, but that doesn't mean to some of the public that I'm telling the truth. So I wanted a secondary investigation to parallel that. And I think it's the right thing to do. It's the first time that I know of that we've ever done it. I know it is that I've ever done that. But I stand by that decision. I think it's the right thing for the public and the right thing for this organization.